So when you look at problems in the household, you can't just look at, it's just a household filled with bad kids, or it's you have to really break it down, which goes into what we were previously talking about with marriages and communication and choosing the right person. When you choose the right spouse, you ultimately start a great base, and you both have to be in it for the right reason and not any ulterior motive like, oh, I'm just going to marry for money, or I'm going to marry because I think this woman can give me, whatever.
A good social status or something.
Yeah, it's not to uplift you financially. It's to actually that should be one of the minor things, but the major reason to get married should be to just start a strong base for a future, almost empire, if you will, of a strong family, a strong household. Are y'all going to be together through all of the seasons, good, bad, ugly, all that?
And I want to go back to something you said about challenging each other. Now, when you talk about challenge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with, you don't want to get with somebody who is not going to challenge you to be your best, uplift you, pull you up with them. You don't want to get somebody at a disadvantage, because how are you ever going to be at your best if you're with somebody that said it, that you have an advantage over them and they're at a disadvantage? It doesn't mean that the person shouldn't come into the relationship with kids. That's not a disadvantage.
Right.
It can be a asterisk, I guess, because some people look at it like, oh, I don't want to mess with he or she because they got kids, but that's not a total disadvantage. A disadvantage is something, if you like somebody because they're pretty, handsome, whatever the case may be, and they bad with money or got a drinking problem, that's getting with somebody that's not never going to challenge you, and that's clearly a disadvantage. So there's no way that person with that kind of problem or addiction is going to challenge you. It's always going to be you helping them overcome something. And if you got the time for that, and obviously the effort, you got your work cut out for you. But you should never get with somebody where it's a total disadvantage. Get with somebody that can uplift you. Get with somebody that can challenge you with, I don't understand this perspective, I don't understand this or that, but take the time, communicate, compromise, and then hopefully on the other end you can be like, okay, I get what you're saying, I get what she was saying,
Right.
That's a good challenge. But
it is.
You can elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you get with someone who has a strong sense of like, they care about health, for example, and you care about health as well, it doesn't mean that they have to be more in shape than you. It just has to mean that they understand the importance of eating healthy and getting in shape. And let's just say one day you wake up and that person tells you, hey, I noticed you haven't been drinking water, make sure you drink water. And then vice versa, you can wake up and say, hey, why don't we go to the park together? We don't do enough things that involve physical movement. And you can both encourage each other without calling somebody fat or unhealthy or lazy. You know how to respectfully tell the person you love, like, hey, I care about you. I know you care about health, and I do too, because that should have already been established. And then you move on and forward to continue to strengthen each other. It's like it's supposed to be your better half. If I wake up one day and I forget to do something, but you know that I believe in it, and you just say, hey, wifey, I think you forgot to do this. I know you didn't mean to do it. But if it starts to become a reoccurring problem where it's every day a person is forgetting, then you really need to sit down and understand, well, what happened? You used to be this way. And that's why I don't believe a person should completely change. I believe they should change only because they've improved. They like, oh, you've changed in a good way. Like, you didn't used to be so, passionate about these types of issues, but you were always,
a lot of people in relationships and in marriages get comfortable to where they don't do it no more. Now, granted, this isn't no, I guess, just off the bat, the Idris Elba movie with Beyonce and Obsessed, where he sends flowers every day. Episode of Martin where you don't do this no more.
Yeah.
Granted, guys don't do a lot of stuff like that no more, especially with working and kids, but that should not be, it shouldn't go under the table, you know what I mean? It's just that it's fine if if it doesn't happen as much, you shouldn't just completely just forget. But I think that's a key component.
Yeah, you shouldn't get lazy, and it can happen.
Get complacent. You shouldn't get that.
You shouldn't, and I think again when you marry the right person and you notice that they're getting just a little bit, too comfortable, to a little lazy, and you would want them to keep the fire going. Well, then sometimes it's friendly competition. Like do something for that person, and then wait and see. Give them an opportunity to return the favor, whether it be flowers or some kind of nice romantic, gestures of any kind. It can, nowadays there's so many different ways to do romantic gestures, and everybody should have their own thing. Go on date night, and all of these things eventually will lead into, well, if you're going to have children together, what type of household and environment are you creating for the children to see, hey, how are our parents getting along? When they have an issue, what do they do? Do they communicate, or do they just, take time apart? And when you set a certain tone for how they should handle certain issues, watch when they go out into the real world how they'll become. That's why when you see people have issues, look at their household and look how they grew up.
Stability in the household is very important. It's imperative.
Extremely important. We can't talk about the community without first looking at the household. We do have issues everywhere, not just the household and the community. It stretches beyond that. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to overlook what goes on in our household and what we dictate and what's directly under us, which is our children, if we're not going to be held accountable for that, check ourselves, check each other in the same way you would check your child. And then look at the community, because if every household is messed up and you have this huge community and the whole community is messed up, we're not going to blame the government or anything crazy.
Got to blame ourselves.
You have to blame yourself, and that's the only way multiple communities can stack up on top of each other, actually, for a greater good.
And with the household, we have to stop talking about the problem and start talking about the solution.
Right.
And the problem is easy. It's just that a lot of black men are getting incarcerated, so the father figure is absent from the house, which makes it hard for the black women, or any household for that matter. It doesn't have to be black, but specifically people of color, melanin descent. Yeah, right. That father out of the household absent makes it really hard for the woman.
It does. And then you imagine a young black woman or man growing up in a household without a father, or with a mother who's just working too hard, and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's a little bit more rare, but you will sometimes find a household where the mother is absent and it's just the father working hard. But either way, you have to have a strong household. You have to have, if something happens that's very unfortunate, set yourself up.
A strong household, for example, of having family time doesn't mean do that quote unquote American thing where you got to go out to eat 3 days a week. You got to cook a meal. Family time. Watch a movie together. Play video games together. That's your thing. Go to the park. Mm-hmm. Family time where it's just y'all. So when the kids grow up, they can always remember that and kind of let that manifest into something greater.
Exactly. Because if the children don't know, if they don't have the right experience around them, they're just going to imitate exactly what they see. And I've seen it. I've been at elementary schools,
right,
where I've seen young girls twerking, and it's at the time it had me at a loss for words, but then I immediately knew what to think. I immediately believed that in the household, the mother she's allowing the child to watch that. Now, if you're an adult, you watch whatever you want to watch. You are free to watch and do whatever you please, as long as it's not hurting anyone. But to watch something inappropriate and to allow your young daughter to watch that and to be okay with her imitating that and not communicating with her and telling her, hey, I'm listening to music, but sometimes music sounds good, but they give out a bad message. Tell your child, so that when they get older and they decide what kind of music they like, they can filter it out, and they can understand the difference between, hey, sometimes this sounds good, but it may not be appropriate, and they can go out there and not mimic everything they see, because that's what children do anyway. They imitate, and they're like sponges. Whatever you put around them, they absorb it, put them out in the public, and then they they go around and they spread exactly what they received at home. And it, again, starts at home.
I remember back in the day we had that controversial video with the Nelly with the tip drill.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, and come to find out, it was actually for the benefit of his sister, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And fast forward, you got the Grammy performance with Megan Thee Stallion, and it was someone else. It may have been Cardi B, yeah. And they was catching flack. And I was shocked myself, but at the same time, I was thinking, well, I would explain that to my kids, and or I wouldn't let them watch it and keep it moving.
Right.
To sit up there and put time and effort into that, you're clearly, by complaining to that kind of extent,
Yeah.
to where you want your opinion on, that it's affecting your household, but that falls on you. I'm not saying that it's right, but explain it then. You can't just cake life up to your kids like it's this and that. Let them know what's out there.
Yeah, because the first thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to disrespect another female, let alone another black or brown female at all, period. I'm not going to disrespect them. I don't know what they got going on, and how they make their money is their business. So
Can't knock a hustle.
I'm never going to knock a hustle, especially how a person, gets their bag. It doesn't matter to me. But what does matter to me is what I keep in my house. And I'm not going to go out there and blast anybody, but I'm just going to tell my daughters, look, you're gonna watch stuff, you're gonna see stuff. Some of it is free, you just turn on the TV and it's there. Some stuff you're gonna pay for, you're gonna subscribe to. Whatever you end up watching, make sure you know the difference between what you can imitate and put out there, and what are good men looking for in a good woman. And whatever you put out there, it's gonna come back. If you put it out there that you're one of these girls that just openly is willing to give it up, then don't get upset when a guy is looking at you and that's what he wants. So just understand the difference between what you decide to watch versus how you decide to be out there in the open. And that's why I love family shows. We don't get enough of those, and I do want to give a shout out to the family shows currently, with the most recent with the Upshaws, and then with the Marlon show.
Yeah, which needs some more seasons.
We need more seasons, so please come out with some more. But just back in the day, you had your Family Matters. I'll even throw Full House. I mean, I'm not biased against race in it, but it was important to see a black household, even like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Certain black households allowed me to, get a little taste of, okay, well, how am I going to be when I grow up? That's why a lot of this stuff sometimes comes a little bit natural to me, the home improvement, and
family-oriented shows,
yeah.
relationship-oriented shows.
Even like Martin.
Right.
Seeing how him and Gina interact.
Or if you have friends, not Friends, the show, Living Single.
Yeah, Living Single. If you have friends like on Living Single, then you can see how friends interact. Like, hey, certain
successful.
I can't pick a specific episode, but a lot of episodes from a lot of these shows showed how in between family members and friends and maybe even neighbors on some shows, just how to interact with people, how to get back what you put out, and how to accept yourself, understand yourself, know if you need to change, to improve, to be better.
But I did want to close out by saying, just focus more on the household, what you can control. And if you got kids, family time. If you don't have kids and you're in a relationship or marriage, spend time with each other. Compromise, communicate. You're going to have them good days and bad days, but I'm almost certain if you can bring however you're feeling down and communicate and compromise, I guarantee you it's going to work.
Yeah, and just to transition into that, to close that as well, bring your emotions down. Sometimes we've heard the phrase, "Oh, you going 0 to 10," and you do. We are human, so first we have to accept the fact that, hey, I'm human, I'm emotional about this specific thing, but let me give myself a countdown and bring it back down to 0, and then communicate effectively and respectfully, and you'd be surprised what you can accomplish when you just communicate. But we'll catch you next time.